What's up, everyone? This is Andrew Evans coming at you guys right now, Vector Marketing, Family and Friends. I wanted to give you guys my message that I gave earlier in October at SLC on creating championship results. And so it's actually exciting that I get a chance to re-give this message at my own home in my condo in Miami. And one of the things I mentioned in my talk is that I've got a photo hanging up inside my balcony, and on it says "Keep Going." And it's a photo of Muhammad Ali, one of the best fighters that really ever lived and the best to ever be. And he has this quote that I think about pretty much every single time I'm hanging out in the house, meditating, drinking coffee, and getting ready. I look at this photo and I remember this quote. I hated every single moment of training, but I told myself, don't quit, suffer now, and live the rest of your life as a champion. And that quote is something that I think about just about every single day. Right? And you have to realize at the end of the day, you're going to feel pain along the way. And part of our natural human condition is that everyone feels and experiences pain. You can't avoid it or run from it. But there's two different types of pain in this world. There's the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. And you need to decide which pain it is that you want to feel. Because if you don't make that decision, someone else is already making it for you. There's a guy, E.T., he says, you're already in pain. Why don't you actually go out and get a reward from it? And so I challenge you guys in that, because the first thing I'll mention is that it's not one thing. There's not one key that allows us to get some of the results that we had. And if you want to get championship results, it's a combination of all these little things. So the first thing I'll talk to you about is championship work ethic. Championship work ethic. I'll tell you right now, we work hard as a team in our office. The photo I have up is a slide of Olympic athletes training. And I'll tell you what, that's how we train. That's how we teach our people. That's how I live my life. And there's a lot of days where I'll go into the office. It wasn't in the game plan. In fact, it specifically says on my calendar, my day off, or I'm not going to the office this Sunday. But there's times where I showed up, because what happens is I'm committed to an outcome and I'm committed to the results that we need to achieve. And I've made a commitment because of that. I don't stop when I'm tired. I stop when the job is done. We compare our Cutco, seasons. And by the way, every single business and every single job and just life in general has seasons of life. And for us in Cutco and our business, we have a season, and that season is called summer. Summer is our season, guys. You just have to look at any sales report to be aware of that. About 70 to 80% of our sales for most of our offices are done during the summer time. And Larry Manley gave an example earlier back in the year, and he said, I don't know why you wouldn't go in, a day during the summer. A day during the summer is like a whole week during the fall, right? A week during the summer is like a month during the fall. And so you got to ask yourself that question on what's more important to you, right? You're telling me I can take put in one giant day's worth of work and energy and passion into the day that I have, and that is the equivalent of a week long's worth of work throughout the fall. I'm going to make sure I show up today and give my very, very best effort because of that. So for us, summer is our season. So the way that it works against you, it also works to help out you. And you can have these massive summers and massive years just from a 2 to 3 month period of work. And the reason we compare it to a harvest is because it just quite frankly doesn't make sense of why, someone work 8, 9, 10 months out of the year, and then harvest finally rolls around, and you're going to lose and give up about 5% of the crops that you could produce that day, just because out of the 9 months that you worked out a year, one day now you don't feel like going in and showing up the way that you should do. So, guys, we work hard. And the reason I start off with that is because everything else that I'm about to share, right, all the other strategies and techniques and skills, none of them matter if you don't work hard first. And working hard almost always beats working smarter, almost every single time. Now, the best work smart and work hard, but hard work is ultimately a foundation. The work ethic, the grind, the grit that comes from that is the foundation. So, a lot of times in a lot of companies, guys, and even I see it in millennials and entrepreneurs today, everyone wants the best strategies. How did you sell this much, or how did you make that much money, or the get quick rich schemes, like the fast track to success. And everyone wants these strategies, but at the end of the day, sometimes what we need to do is just put some more damn work in, right? It's just show up, put more work and more energy into what we're doing, 10x the amount of effort that you're giving, right? and stop looking at Instagram memes and start looking within inside and the person that you need to show up as, right? And what I'll share with you is that when you start focusing on your identity and who you need to become in order to attract the things that you want in your life, more and more of them will come up and appear on a daily basis. And when you adopt an identity of someone that outworks everyone else in your field or everyone else in your business, you will start to feel as if you deserve more, and you will treat and act as if that is so, and it will bring you more results along the way. So, train like an Olympic athlete and train for that success. As a lot of you guys know, I have a podcast that's coming out, being released in the next month here in February, called Ace Weekly. And that's a podcast for entrepreneurs, CEOs, and salespeople looking to step up and up-level their game and looking for some more direction. And, one of the first episodes that we're talking about on the podcast is the fact that you just don't need motivation. You just don't need it, right? What you need is commitment. And so I think about someone that goes to the gym, on a regular basis, or maybe a bodybuilder. And that person wakes up every single day and goes to the gym, eats, sleeps, or at least, hopefully, if they're doing a good job being a bodybuilder. And you have to ask yourself, the question, do you think that person really wakes up every single morning and is super fired up and excited to go to the gym, 5-6 days out of the week or more, 52 weeks out of the year after year after year? Definitely not. That person probably hates going more to the gym more than, the people that don't. But, there's a saying, a quote that I heard, and that is the days that you wake up and, you don't want to go to the gym, those are the days that you need to go the most, right? And I feel the same way, because how we do one thing is how we do everything. And so the days that you wake up and I wake up and not an inch of me wants to show up that day, or I don't want to go into work and, not a part of my body is really resonating with that, those are the days where you have to go. There's not another option. And you make a commitment to yourself so that regardless of how you're feeling in the current moment, you decide to show up because you've made a commitment to the decisions that you're going to make. You don't need motivation. You need to develop habits and discipline. And discipline is like a muscle. You've got to train it. So you force yourself to do things. You force yourself to develop those habits. Motivation is fleeting, but habits are reliable. And success is a habit, it's a mentality, it's a lifestyle, and the journey that you take to get there is what is the best part of the process. So, how do you have a successful workout, right? How does that work? You show up and you have a plan. You have a game plan, you have a list of routines that you're gonna do, and before you leave, you've made sure you've checked off all those boxes, right? If you go there and you have kind of a plan, you just leave once you're feeling good, what happens? You usually have a bad workout, right? And you don't start seeing the results. So how do you have a successful day at the office? You go in, you have a clear set of objectives that you're gonna get done for that day, right? You have a set of outcomes that, hey, here's what I'm focused on, and before I leave, this is being accomplished. So whether it's 5 p.m. or it's 9 p.m., whether you're feeling energized and fired up, whether your team is crushing it this week or you guys are getting wrecked in the sales report, you show up and you make sure that you've accomplished whatever it is that you set out to accomplish that morning, or ideally even the day before. So when you start committing, by the way, when you start committing, you will have more confidence. And by the way, from that confidence, you will have better self-esteem, and you will feel better about yourself because you told yourself you were gonna do something and you actually followed through with it, right? And you will feel better about yourself because you did so. So we talked about championship work ethic, and now I'm gonna talk to you guys about championship recruiting. If you look on the slide that I attached, it's a photo of Nick Saban. And Nick Saban's a championship recruiter, if you're familiar with the Alabama football team. We do massive recruiting. Our goal is that we are the #1 student work opportunity in the Miami-Dade area. And we recruit and act as if. I think about your PR talk collection video. That is an easy way. If you're not averaging 200 names per name collection, you're doing something wrong. And that is probably one of the simplest areas in our business to fix. When you talk about a lot of things, how to run good meetings or how to connect with the rep, a lot of those take skill set that has to be developed and cultivated over years and years. Guys, your PR talk is about 30 minutes out of your schedule on a weekly basis. So if you're still averaging less than 150 PRs, the thing that you need to do this week is go back into that, dive in, and recalibrate your talk. Watch my video online, or watch the talk from Brian Hurlman and someone else that is actually out there getting it done. You will experience results at a high amount early on and often. So just by adjusting your PR talk, you're automatically going to lead to higher results right off the bat, and that's one of the most important things. PR number for the office, right? Like, where's your fire set number? Do you even know the numbers, right? And that's like the next thing that'll bring you guys is like, check the stats. I've got a different choice word there before on my notes, but check the stats, guys. Like, I hear so many people, especially in our business, say like, hey, I'm not really a numbers person, so I don't really know how to read all that stuff or look at them. But like, you're running a business, you need to become a numbers person, right? Even the guy sitting down here on the street selling mangoes to people, like, he knows how many mangoes he needs to sell that month in order to make sure that his family is able to live, right? In order that he can pay his bills for the month. So it doesn't matter what you're doing, like, you need to be following these numbers. How many PRs are you setting on a weekly basis? How is your staff pacing? I remember looking back earlier this summer, and there was a week that, like, I had to go in the office for 3 hours. I just sat down there looking at all the numbers because I was noticing that we were not going to hit the goals that we wanted if we didn't make some adjustments. And our AMs were not getting the shows that we needed to get, for our PR shows. So we had to make some adjustments, dive back in, hold a workshop that weekend in order to get us where we needed to be. The other thing that goes along with championship recruiting is championship recruiting of the people that we want to recruit. So not just more large-scale recruiting, because you need that as well, but how do we get the 5-star quality, high-caliber recruits in? And guys, we had a lot of those this past year and this summer. In fact, I'll tell you what, getting more 5-star recruits is not about getting less 2-star recruits. You don't need to be more selective, okay? It's about creating an environment and opportunity that you can recruit those top creme de la creme recruits. And, I think about the first thing I think about is that, number one, you can't recruit someone that's sharper than you, period, right? Like, if you are a basketball player, you're probably not going to recruit someone to your team that's like a significantly better than you. It's just gonna be harder to do. So whatever level you consider yourself, like, if you want to go out and you want to recruit some of these top high school graduates, you need to be someone that attracts them. Someone that, number one, they either want to become like, right? Or number two, you have some kind of character traits or attributes that they really want to embody and they want to be able to learn from you. Those are the things. So, be someone that your recruits walk in and they are not only impressed by, but they want to be like. I think about this summer we had 20, 30 plus kids walk in, or just work in our office that went to Ivy League schools. And, one thing, a mistake that I see managers make all the time is that when a kid walks in and they have something really impressive on their resume, they actually are impressed. And I know we say, hey, don't be impressed, make sure that you are, carrying yourself in a certain way. But most of you walk in, someone walks in, they have an Ivy League school, they're the captain of their sports team, you're impressed. And you make them known to that. So the worst thing that you can do is that you have kids that, go to Harvard and they walk in and we introduce themselves and I'm like, hey, my name's Andrew, I'm the owner of the office. Come in, oh, cool, you go to Harvard, awesome. Like, how do you like that? Have you visited the campus yet? What does it look like out there? Yeah, it's a beautiful school. I got a couple buddies that graduated from there. That talks to them, that's a conversation that's a little bit more normal. Versus when you outcast them and make them feel like, oh, you went to Harvard? Oh man, so you probably know all, like, it just doesn't seem real, doesn't seem genuine, and all their friends and family do that to them all day long. They make them feel special and outcast from the group because of this too. So keep that in mind. You got to recruit and get those high quality 5-star recruit people in. And the last thing too is when people are surrounded by the best, like, they're also not impressed, and you need to adopt that personification of your office that, like, hey, we're part of the best, and look, like, if you want to be here, you're someone that I think would do really, really well, but what we have going on here is awesome, and I'd love for you to be a part of it, but let's see if it's a good fit from there. And adopting that mentality into your recruiting. Next thing I'll talk to you guys about today is championship productivity, right? How do you average 3K, 4K, 5K PPR? So the first thing is the stats. Okay, so if you want to affect productivity, if you want to affect how much your reps are selling on a summer basis, you need to go to their fast start. Because we know that on average, a rep sells about 2 times as much in their career as they do in their fast start. Okay, where do you go from there? You go to the first weekend, because on average, we know that someone that launches their first weekend, they're going to sell about 2 times that amount in their first 10 days as they do their first weekend on the job. So we know that a rep's productivity is directly linked and correlated to their first weekend productivity. What do we have to do? Focus on first weekend productivity. And when you do that, you will see some of the results of your total productivity go up. So the next thing that goes along with championship productivity is specifically your training proficiency. So if we want to include first weekend pop, we want to raise that up. The first question we ask is what makes someone sell, right? And there's 4 keys in my mind that allow someone to have a successful first weekend. The first key is, number 1, they see the right people. Number 2, they have a lot of demos leaving training. Number 3, confidence and selling belief. And number 4 is just following those 4 keys, follow the manual, read, cut, smile, and call the office while you're working with your top customers. So number 1, see the right people. You got to make sure that they're seeing their top 5 first, top 5 first weekend. And this is crucially important, and sometimes as a manager, we're not really sold on this idea, so we don't sell our people on it, but they've got to see their top 5. Okay, and we all know the lines, hey, when you see your top 5 and you're going out and you're selling, what's going to happen? That success is going to breed confidence. But guys, that's exactly what it does. So when a rep goes out their first weekend and they're not seeing their best people, if they go out there and their first 4 or 5 appointments are all rough or they're no sales, there is a small percentage of the population that can actually withstand that amount of rejection and stay around for it. Okay, so the vast majority of people, they're gone. You're going to lose them. When they go out there and they have that initial success, I mean, just look around the room. Probably almost everyone watching this video, maybe 90% plus of the managers in the company hit their first promotion the first weekend on the job. And in order to ensure that that is happening with every single rep that we're seeing, we got to make sure they're seeing their top 5 their first weekend on the job. The next thing that comes along with that is creating a lot of demos, right? So I think this is number 1, set up and the expectations that are given out during the opening comments of training. I'm like, hey guys, we're gonna have a quick opportunity for you guys to phone jam here from tonight. We'll get you 5 to 10 from the office. Then you want to have a little bit of time carved out from home later on tonight to get another 5 to 10 from home or tomorrow morning. Tomorrow when you leave training, we'll get you another 5 to 10 appointments. That way everyone's here is leaving with 15 to 30 plus appointments booked up in front of you, depending on what your goal is. And by doing that, guys, it's just setting up the expectations right at the beginning for a lot of appointments. Doing a first 10-day walkthrough, right? You can find that online on my training videos of how I set up the schedule for the first 10 days. But that's a big major key, is that almost every single person's goal is over 15, 20 plus appointments for their first weekend. So part of it's just simple as making sure you're setting up the right goals. Again, watch my training videos to learn how to do that, but it takes about 2 to 3 minutes that you can insert into the middle of training. And making sure that day 2 phone jam. On day 2 of training, we are phone jamming from almost 2-3 hours. I'll let them keep making calls until they've accomplished and every single person's hit their goal for the day, right? So letting and allowing yourself to have more than an hour or 2 if it's needed, and for them to get over that 10 plus mark. Because eventually, at the end of the day, guys, all the other stuff you're going to teach them on the second day of training, they help, but what's going to make them sell a whole lot more is them having about double as many demos as they are or do currently. So making sure you have a big phone jam. And the last thing, okay, is confidence and selling belief. Confidence and selling belief, meaning that reps need to be confident in themselves, and they need to be confident and sold in the programs in order to actually succeed. We say it, you guys hear all the time, expectation creates reality. And whatever you think will happen, whether that's good or bad, is probably similar to what will actually end up happening. Our reps need to understand that early on and often. And when you are doing the value talk and you are selling these reps on the idea that they go out there too, part of it for me, I didn't have this originally. I remember someone asked me, hey, but if we've grown up here in the business for the old school, and it's not common results for someone to go out there and boom, first promotion, first weekend, or it's not really common for someone to go out and sell 3, 4K, 5K their first day on the job. How do you act as if that is common, or how do you make that a standard? And what I'll share with you is that ultimately as a manager, you just need to preach it and speak it into existence. I'll tell you what, none of this stuff had ever happened before. We never had someone that did 10K in their first, day and a half on the job. I didn't have a lot of 10K fast starters until I started using and following Brian Holman's training. And every single time we talk about, hey, in training, we have your first weekend. Some people go out, a lot of people sell the 10K their first 10 days in the job. Other people, they'll knock it out their first day or two in the job. You know, I had a girl named Alex Stubblefield. She sold 10K, boom, first 24 hours on the job. Now that's not super common, you know, but that is one of our top performers that we've trained before. But having examples like that, and none of that was true for me. I just used examples of other people until it started happening for me, right? Until those things started to until those examples that I was giving in training started to become reality, and I just had more examples for myself. So speak what it is. So speak what it is that you want into existence in your organization, and it will come forth and bloom. The last thing is just those 4 keys. If your reps aren't doing that, following the manual, cut a lot of food, like having fun, enthusiasm sells, and then calling the office. I teach those to people within the first hour of training because they're so crucially important. Last thing I'll mention in first 10-day management here is first weekend PDI. Okay, you guys all saw us earlier at SLC, but every demo gets closed out. We don't have a single appointment that doesn't get closed out the first weekend. We use WhatsApp to communicate with our representatives. So it's all built into there. So our assistant managers and whoever's a district manager can do it from home, but you're using WhatsApp to communicate. And that's the most important thing, is that going back to their first weekend results, whatever their first appointment, 2 or 3, sets the tone for the whole entire weekend. So if they go their first appointment or 2 without actually speaking with you on the phone, they're already developing habits that aren't right. And so you need to nip that in the butt right away. Right? Friday night, Saturday morning, anyone that has an appointment and we don't hear from them up to an hour and a half, 2 hours tops beforehand, they're getting a call from one of us, and we're going to follow up with them and make sure that they're following our programs that are set into place. WhatsApp is best for tracking appointments for the first weekend. Advanced Training 1 to Advanced Training 2, look back to some of Jeff Gamboa's older messages, but we give him an assignment in Advanced Training 1 that sets up the phone jam results for Advanced Training 2, and that assignment is to have an attack list of 30 to 50 plus people before they show up on Wednesday. We give them a full breakdown and guide. My Advanced Training 1 video is also recorded and online, and you can watch that as well. So all this helps with training proficiency, brings you to some championship productivity. The next thing that falls into championship productivity is having championship phone jams, right? And really driving a phone jam like a champion. So what goes into a phone jam? Number 1 is going to be the setup, and the second thing is the execution. So under the setup, Tuesday PDI is crucially important. Tuesday PDI is your opportunity to call through your team and make sure that people are not only showing up to the team meeting on Wednesday, but showing up in the right way. And I think that's one of the most important things. When you have a PDI conversation with someone on Tuesday, there should always be a certain amount of a checklist box of things and obligations that are met. Number 1, you should always have a theme, okay? There should always be a theme for the meeting. Themes are an opportunity to infuse some culture into your team meeting. There should be a goal that was ideally made on a Monday or a Sunday at the staff meeting. So you already know the goal for your Wednesday team meeting before people start showing up. It's on the board, and it's promoted the day ahead of time versus like, you know, oh, we're just going to throw up a goal. Looks like we could do maybe 8 demos. Or even worse, you don't even have a goal, you know, for your phone jam. Next thing, guys, is how is the room set up, right? What's the environment that you walk into when you actually walk into your environment, or walk into your office rather, right? Is it an environment that there's energy in the room? They're like, wow, welcome to a phone jam in the Metro Miami office. And that's how it is, at least in our office. You walk in, is there someone signing people in and in charge of, okay, boom, let me check your Focus 5. Let me check your attack list. Let me make sure you're ready to rock and roll here. Let me set the tone for a meeting, give you a high five at the door, and then send you up into the back room. For us, what we have, our office set up is there's a big open room. We have desks all along the outside for our key staff. And then we have little mini chairs, right? The desk chairs set up all along the aisles of the room. And they'll use their Focus 5 and have it out there while they're ready to rock and roll too. So I'm up the front, always ripping it. This is one of the most important aspects. I wouldn't delegate running the phone jam or driving it. That's the most important thing that you can do on a Wednesday or Sunday, is driving that phone jam. So I usually wouldn't use it for too much time for PCs. You know, the number 1 thing that's most important is making sure that people are getting the results that they need to get. Second thing is the actual execution. When you execute the actual team meeting, you know, the photo I have up, it's a slide from the Wolf of Wall Street. And, you know, which one are you, right? Are you the Wolf of Wall Street, or are you a babysitter in your phone jam, right? Or even worse, you're not really even present. You should be up there driving the results and pouring energy into everyone that you need around you, right? You should deploy leaders on your team to help you set the tone of the workshop. So before our team meeting or before the phone jam kicks off, I'm always pulling people aside and telling them, hey, this is what I'm looking for tonight. Can you help embody this as a leader tonight? Can I count on you to do this? Because it's a lot more powerful, right, when big brother is saying something, to little brother versus mom or dad, right? And then they'll actually listen to them too. It's the same way with your team. They might hear one thing from you, but when they hear it from someone else on your team, it's real leadership and less rules and obligation and authority. So deploy leaders to set the tone. Third thing is music. What's the music environment? Is there something that has some energy going to it? Do you keep most of your music clean? We do. By the way, all my Spotify has playlists of mostly clean music that you can play in your office that are popular and have good tone to them as well. And then do you have a chant, a bell, whatever you're ringing when someone gets a demo? Is there some kind of energy and excitement in the room? And I got to tell you, like there is a lot of energy in our office when we are having phone jams. The last thing I'll mention, guys, is just contests. Tickets and raffles, you should always be raffling something off, some kind of prize, some kind of contest. Some nights, we'll just do raffle. We do rock, paper, scissors contest. Some nights that you guys will saw on the board, like we'll just put 3 people up against next to each other and we'll make a team contest, right? And so only the teams that has the most demos at the end of the night, they're the only one whose raffle tickets count. So you're giving out raffle tickets, but the other 2 teams, they get completely disqualified. Again, this is another opportunity to help get some of your teammates that are more competitive, and you'll have an opportunity for leaders to step up as they're competing in that too. And I'll switch people from time to time, move people from one team over to the other, but make it exciting, spice it up. We do like a different contest every night. So again, it's just set up and execution for all your phone jams and meetings. The last thing that I'll mention, guys, as I wrap up here our message is championship culture. Championship culture. And, we're outside right now, sitting in Biscayne Boulevard in Miami. A couple blocks down there's an American Airlines arena. And big and bold in the front of the arena right now, it's got the Miami Heat logo and it says culture. And you want to become a master at building culture in your organization. So you should have some type of culture that people can walk in and recognize when they walk into your office or your organization. The first question that I ask you is like, what is the culture of your team? What is the culture of your office? Do you even have a culture, right? And some of you guys might be like, all right, cool. Yeah, I have a culture. I can tell you what it is. Here's our mission statement. The next question you want to ask yourself is like, do the people on your team, do the people in your organization know the culture? If I walk up to one of them and I say, hey, what's the culture here? What will they tell me? And it is the same thing as you would say. So, what are we about? What is the culture about in our office? We are the premier work opportunity for students in the Miami area. When we had our record-breaking numbers and goals, we put them up on the screen. We say, hey, guys, it's not about this, right? Like, this means we're going to sell a lot of knives, and we sure will along the way. But, what it's about is having a dynamic team. When we talk about breaking records, having a record-breaking income, a record-breaking resume, right? A record-breaking environment and experience for the summer, right? We talk about being champions, being the best version of yourself, and being part of something that is bigger than ourselves. So once you have that culture, is there consistency? Every single Wednesday, every single team meeting, that's something that I'm bringing up. It's one of the first things that I'm saying, hey, welcome to our team. We're the Miami Spartans, and here's what we're about. Right? So do you have a culture that's consistent? And it starts, by the way, from the second they talk to you on the phone. When you call them up and they're being recruited, is there a culture that's consistent from there? Do they walk into the office and into their initial interview? And is there a culture that is consistent with the person that they talk to on the phone? The easiest way to lose someone in those initial recruiting pages is to have a culture that is inconsistent with what they previously expected. They interviewed with one recruiter and they got the training and the job was something different than they really thought it was, right? Or you said this is what you were about in training and opening comments, but now after working with you for a week or two, they really feel like you're about this, right? So do you have a culture that is consistent with everything that you're doing? By the way, when you do, you won't stress out. By the way, when you do, you won't stress out as much anymore when it comes from day 1 to day 2. Our day 1 to day 2 training show this summer was 86%. Right, 86%. And we had some good results because of that. And the reason that we had an 86% show back to day 2 is because our interview and our training and the programs that we have are consistent from one to another. Our culture is consistent. Your what I'm building talk in your team meeting. That is an opportunity each and every single week to help infuse some of the culture that you want into your team. And the last thing is just through PCs. Use your leaders as an opportunity to infuse some of that culture. So the last part, guys, is championship mentality. And championship mentality is something that you need to develop and cultivate within yourself if you want to expect championship results. Everything in life happens twice. It starts in here and then happens in reality. And guys, your mind is like a computer. You have about 90,000 thoughts a day, and 80 to 90% of them are the same on a daily basis, right? So if you've ever watched and seen someone that, no matter what, they want to maybe beat an addiction, or they've got something else that's going on in their life that they've spent 1, 2, 3, 4, 5+ years working on getting rid of, but every day it's like the same thing happens, and they have the exact same habits. Well, that's because, guys, over years and years and years, your mind develops an operating system. And sometimes you have to adjust and update that operating system. And if you want to have an operating system that demands and expects championship results, you need to be looking at what it is that I'm thinking about on a daily basis. What am I attracting? Where's my energy going? Where the focus goes, energy flows. And so I'm going to give you 5 keys here on how to develop a championship mentality. The first one is to start with why. Start with why. Simon Sinek wrote a book called Start With Why. And it just talks about how when you have a why that is strong enough, the how oftentimes presents itself. And so the photo that I included on my initial presentation was a photo of Giselle, and she's a rep in our team, in her office, and she's a senior right now at our school. And her dream has always been to go to Harvard University, right? And that's been her dream since a very young age. And she shared with me a story from this summer about how she got a call from the dean of admissions at Harvard one morning at like 8 a.m. or so. She answered it, and she talks to the lady on the phone, and she was just telling me how grateful she was really for the opportunity that we provide. Because at the end of the day, like, if she wouldn't have developed the skill set to talk to people on the phone, right? She said, number one, like, I was so nervous to talk to you on the phone, I wouldn't have even answered that phone call in the first place. Now I'm like, boom, gotta grab this call. I think it's like a client or something. The second thing too is that, like, hey, even if she did answer that phone, there was no way that she would have been able to actually withstand a meaningful conversation with her. Instead, she spoke with her for 30 minutes on the phone with the lady that basically holds the keys to her future and everything that she's wanted with, and had a really confident, powerful conversation. Now, I'm not sure what the results of that will come from, but, that is why I show up every single day, guys. And when you start with your why, it makes everything a whole lot easier. And I'll tell you guys this, like I shared this at SLC, that is that, like, I'll be honest with you guys, there's a lot of days where I wake up and I don't want to get out of bed, where I wake up and I don't want to run training, I don't want to run that interview, I don't want to run that team meeting. In fact, I'll be honest, like 90% of the stuff that I do on a daily basis, I don't even like. I don't enjoy it. In fact, some of the days I absolutely hate it. But I show up every single day because when you know that you've got 30 people sitting at your door to your office at 8 a.m. waiting to get inside and have belief and inspiration and something poured into them, it's a lot easier to get up out of bed. It's a lot easier to not hit that snooze on your alarm clock when you know that you have people counting on you to deliver your leadership. So, it might not be that, but what is your why, right? Start with your why, because when you actually have a why, it's easy to navigate. We talked about, motivation is fleeting, but habits and commitment aren't. And when you have a really strong and powerful why, it's a lot easier to make that more meaningful commitment. So the first thing is to start off with why. The second thing is to look at your circles of influence. Your circles of influence. You have 3 people that you're learning from, 3 people that you're learning with, and 3 people that you're teaching for, right? And I know that we've all heard that before. We've heard the saying, you are an average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. And some of you guys in the room might have heard that, but you're still spending time with 5 people that aren't getting the results that you want to have, right? And you still go to conferences and events and hang out with the 5 people that are all having the exact same results, or maybe a little bit below or lower results than you want to have. So start aligning yourself with people that are pushing you, people that are challenging you, and people that also think in the same way that you need to think in order to achieve whatever it is that you want to achieve. So start with why, right? Second thing is circle of influence. Third thing that I'll share with you guys is the lens that you're using to view the world. Going back to your championship mentality, right? Do things happen to you, or do things happen for you? A lot of people look back and they see our success from this summer and they think that we just had like a really lucky summer and we just got all the results that we wanted. Guys, if we had a lucky summer, we would have shipped well over $1 million. That was beyond the goal, right? If everything would have went perfect, we would have far exceeded what we actually did. And the reason that we didn't is because life isn't perfect. The plan doesn't always happen, right? We had a ton of adversity this summer. We lost half of our assistants before the summer really even started. But for us, things don't happen to us, they happen for us. Everything happens for a reason. So what's the lens that you're adopting and you're using to view the world? And is that lens helping you or is it hurting you along the way? Fourth key that I'm going to give you guys is, again, adopting a finish the job when it is done mentality, right? Not finishing when you're tired, not finishing when you feel okay, but finishing when you felt like you've gone out there and you've done the job that you were determined to do. And the fifth and last thing, guys, that goes into having a championship mentality is BVOY, and that stands for best version of yourself. Are you waking up every day and seeking to become that next best version of yourself? The question I have for you all is like, do you think you're here just to be here? Right? Like, are you meant to spend 40, 50, 60 years wandering around without purpose, or are you meant for more? Right? Like, is there greatness within you and the people around you? Are you destined to do more, bigger, and grander things? And guys, I believe that about everyone. I believe that we have greatness within inside of us. I believe that everyone here is meant for a purpose. And when you start adopting that mentality and you're working towards becoming that best version of yourself, and you walk around like there is a greater purpose, and what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis and what I'm doing matters and impacts the lives of others, it's going to be easier to adopt that championship mentality of you doing whatever it takes to get what you need to get done. And I believe that, guys, but here's what I'll share with you. You don't just wake up one day and, become great or become an overnight success. You become great by putting work in and day out. And, at the end of the day, guys, that's really tough. And it's going to take a lot of work. But when the going gets hard and life hits you in the face, keep going. Keep going, suffer now, and live the rest of your life as a champion. Thanks, everyone.